Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, hello, everybody. How are you? So you haven't seen me at all, but I'm your teacher because of the lessons that I've had during your time, during your webinar time. I couldn't I couldn't attend your webinars. That's why today until the end of summer I'm with you. My name is Vitalina. Nice to meet you. Can you please type something in the chat so I can see, I can clearly see that you are with me. Done. So while you are typing in the chat box, can you please type what are you up to during your summer holidays? Do you have any plans for this weekend? Do you have any plans overall for this week? Can you share with me? It's very nice to see you today. I'm going to the forest with my, not just like to the forest, but to the lake with my friends. Probably, I'm not very happy to be there. I'm to be to kind of not with you, but I don't like this tents, sleeping somewhere in the forest. So kind of not my cup of tea. Oh wow, great. Andrei, hello, nice to meet you too. Xenia, hi, good. I'm watching motion design tutorials. Oh wow, interesting. Andrei, motion design tutorial, what was that? Is that UI/UX design or something for gaming? What was that? UI/UX design or what's that? Kind of sounds interesting. My boyfriend just made me learn and study JavaScript. So I'm also kind of learning and doing something apart from English, learning. Somebody wrote as well as learning English. Oh wow, interesting. Do you learn yourselves or with somebody, with a teacher, or just doing our tests on the platform? It's kind of interesting. So some of the it's like graphical but with some motion with it. Okay. Okay, is that interesting for you? Do you like it? I have plans to go boating. Oh wow, Susha, go boating. Oh, interesting. What's the lake or what's the river you are going to boat? What's the river or sail or sail or what? I don't know these kind of sports. That's so interesting. Right, boating. Interesting. But it seems to me that that it's rain all around Ukraine, and it seems to me that there will be. It's fascinating. What? It's fascinating, Andrei. What's that? Fascinating. What's fascinating? The rain, the rain itself. I don't think so that it's fascinating, but yeah. Okay. Yeah, right. Yeah, and it's raining all around Ukraine, and no matter where you are located, where you are right now, it will be also raining this weekend. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what plans you're up to. Okay, okay. I need to talk a little bit in a lower pitch because you asked me to describe motion and I wrote it was okay. Well, right. Cool. Motion design. I haven't heard about that. Okay. Cool. Let's have a look. So you just type in the chat box to know whether you are there or not. By the way, I wanted to just a quick second. I wanted to tell you that today we have today we have the session with the activity praises. So I'm going to throughout the webinar, I'm going to ask you something, or I would like you to solve the riddle or to solve something, and you are going to write the answer in the chat box, and you will get the prize for the right answer, for being the first to write the correct answer in the chat box. So please be active during the webinar and be attentive during the webinar, because I'm going to ask you something, and the first one to answer the usually I ask at the end of the webinar. So yeah, you have the motivation to watch the webinar till the very end. That's why be very attentive. I'm going to, of course, I'm going to tell you that now is the question for the prize, and please think a little bit, and you are going to be the first. Yeah, you should be the first to answer in the chat box, and you will get the prize for this one. Okay, let me see. It has everything to do with Adobe and some other glorious. I'm gonna have latencies. What's that? I might have some latencies. I don't know. Glorious program. Okay, fine. Glorious. What's the adjective about the about about the programs? It's a little bit too sophisticated for the programs. Be careful with the adjectives that you use. Too sophisticated for the usual stuff. Okay, right. So today, oh, somebody eat sorry, delays. Yeah, right. Latencies are latencies about 40-second long latency we have. And when you type something, I only see after 40 seconds, or maybe in 40 seconds, or even in a minute. It depends when you have started watching the webinar. Maybe I will have the latency of about 1 or 2 or 3 minutes, depending on when you've started watching the webinar. So please beware of that we have kind of like a pause. I have a pause. You are watching like live stream, but I have a pause. So sorry. Right. Latency. Yeah. I made it here. Great to meet you all. Okay. Yeah, Marina. Hello. Good. So today pencil in the agenda of today's webinar. We're going to have a little bit of the small discussion about feedback. After that, we are going to have a look at negative criticism versus constructive feedback. Shortly, it's something like positive and negative feedback, high quality feedback, principles and structure of feedback, transforming negative criticism into constructive one, and giving feedback to yourself. Kind of interesting. So what about you? Let's just start. What do you think? What do you think the feedback means to you? What makes it effective? And why it's so helpful? Why is it important to give and to get feedback? Can you please type in the chat box what the feedback is, what feedback means to you? Why is it so helpful? Why is it so helpful? And why is it important to give and to get feedback? Right. Mm-hmm. For me, it's when speaking about just simple stuff without any definitions, for me, feedback is something, some criticism, a constructive one, and an objective one. When the person just assesses or evaluates my actions, but not my personality. For me, it's a feedback. Why is it so important? Because it's very difficult to evaluate yourself from your own perspective. Usually, as a rule, we have a tunnel vision and we just look at one from one perspective. And sometimes it's very difficult somehow to assess yourself and to give a constructive criticism to yourself. That's a problem. That's kind of very problematic for the human being itself. But when the person, another person gives you feedback, it kind of becomes clear and vivid what you are going to do, what you are going to do to improve your style of your communication style. So stuff like that. Just other people's opinion to ours on ourselves. Okay, feedback basically is just some piece of gratitude or advice which you receive from your customer. Oh, from your customers, right? Mm-hmm. Whenever you receive a feedback, you have to incorporate it immediately. Feedback improves learner confidence, motivation to learn, and ultimately a learner's attainment. Right. Sometimes I'm very sorry, but sometimes you use of course, yeah, right. You use a very sophisticated vocabulary sometimes, but sometimes it's out of the place. It's like nobody says gratitude in real life, in real life communication. And ultimately, these sentence adverbs, attainment, are kind of for essays. That's totally cool and is totally good, but for just simple usual communication, that sounds a little bit weird or something. So I'm instantly give you feedback, but yeah, really, sometimes it sounds kind of I don't know, no, not just a little bit too much. Yeah, it's like you are standing in the glasses with this very sophisticated one. So be careful with that, because too much sophisticated vocabulary can somehow hinder your communication a little bit out of the style or something. Okay, good. Right. Thanks a lot. So why do you think it's important to give and get feedback? What about getting feedback? And when is, I adore these complicated phrases, all right, when you give a constructive one, you need to comment on specific things and also keep it balanced. Oh, wow, interesting, Marina. Thanks a lot. Right. Andrei, yeah, right. You adore them, but well, it sounds a little bit too much when people use a lot of complicated so it's emotionally difficult to kind of digest these phrases when you have usual just a simple informal communication. So be careful with that. Okay, good. So let's have a look at what the feedback is. Feedback is not advice, praise, or evaluation. So be careful with that. Feedback is information about how one is doing in effort to reach a goal. There are two types of feedback, giving and receiving, and both are not the easiest. Understanding of how to give feedback and to receive feedback is important in a leadership role. Feedback is written comments, electronic comments, meetings with individuals, and suggestions from peers. How the feedback is used. Effective feedback is given in a time of learning when there is still time to act on it. It's used to provide constructive criticism or to receive positive suggestions to better oneself, an organization, or a team. If done right, improvements can be made from the information that is either provided or received. Individuals can grow from the information, gaining positive reinforcement or correct negative behaviors. Feedback should be given in a way that doesn't attack the person, but condemns the behavior. Remember, feedback is not always constructive and it can be positive. So, what I wanted to share with you, something that springs to my mind for the first time when I hear the word feedback. For me, when I hear the word feedback, it's always the image of the Ukrainian person, of the Ukrainian person or professional. Whenever we had the teaching consultations, or whenever we had some not meetings, but courses for teachers, all the time we were we were giving either feedback to oneself in a kind of like self-reflection, or somebody was giving, like our colleagues or peers, we were receiving a peer feedback. And the thing that usually struck me, the thing that really affected me deeply was that every time the person or peers or colleagues were giving feedback to you, they concentrated mainly on negative stuff. So what you've done badly, something that you have to change, something that you didn't like, something that didn't appeal, that something that doesn't appeal to you or whatever, they were taking, when I just peeped into their notes, I noticed that there were no places for positive stuff. There were no places for the advantages, or for the things that were really good during the lesson. And I just, why? Why do you always have to focus on negative stuff? First of all, in order to maintain these friendly relationships, or the friendly dialogue, healthy dialogue, I should say, professional dialogue, you need to concentrate a little bit on the positive stuff to make the person more encouraged, to make the person motivated, to make make the person feel that he or she has done something good, has done something really great, and it's really helped. But otherwise you just make the person demotivated or whatsoever. I am, yeah, demotivated, or not feeling that that he or she has done something good, and that's not very positive stuff. After that, I realized that it's because of our identity. It's because of our Ukrainian identity. From the historic times, Shevchenko was writing about to which extent our life is difficult, to which extent we are just surviving, and stuff like that. We have this kind of monkey, no monkey mind, but this fixation on everything is really bad, everything is needs to be improved, everything is kind of stagnating. That's our just identity, and we can't change our mindset. So always, and I had this distinct image in my mind that no, it shouldn't be like that. If you are asked to give feedback, or if you are given the feedback, if I'm given the feedback, or I give the feedback myself to somebody, the first thing I concentrate on and spend more time on is the positive stuff. After that, I just smoothly flow into the things that you could change, or you could have done better. And it's not negative one, it's not criticism, but it's still something that you've done like that. That was good, that was okay, but 30, or you have to slightly change it in order to become, in order to make it more productive or more efficient. So that's my kind of proviso, or my algorithm, of giving, or when I'm given feedback. Whenever I'm given the feedback, usually I prefer more professional people than me, but still more professional people, they understand that you couldn't give feedback just right straight from the negative stuff, straight from the criticism. That's why I prefer people, when people just give me feedback, I ask them, what have I done bad, what have I done well, could you please tell me what have I done well, what was good, what was productive. After that, let's go to another point, to other points, because that's not how it works. Yeah. That's just my theory of something. Can you please, whenever you concentrate on positive, you receive it. Whenever you concentrate on bad stuff, you get disappointed. Right, right. That's what I'm telling. Really. You are a very nice audience. Thanks a lot. Good. So, how should I use feedback? To understand how an individual likes to receive feedback and adjust it to fit their preferences. Giving feedback in appropriate settings and realizing it does not always have to be formal. Provide feedback with both constructive and positive suggestions to help better those you work with. Have a conversation with the individual and let them talk about it. Time the feedback as close as possible to the event, behavior, etc. Clearly define the topic in which you would like to discuss and succinctly explain it to them without presumptions. Yes, very shortly, succinctly. Offer suggestions, answer questions, and help guide the individual in what could be done better. A kind of like guidance. Okay, good. So as it's here, step one, first of all, speak, write, show, as I told you, that it could be written, it could be oral feedback, or even showing mimes. Yeah. After that, you listen to the person, you read it, and then feedback. And it can be in a it can be closed in a circuit. Okay, right. Just a second, I wanted to a little bit concentrate on why is it important to give feedback. Just when speaking about feedback, it's used to describe the helpful information or criticism about prior actions or behavior from the individual, communicated to another individual who can use that information to adjust and improve current and future actions and behavior, to curb somebody's behavior. Yeah. Feedback occurs when an environment reacts to an action or behavior. For example, customer feedback is the buyer's reaction to a company's products, services, or policies. And employee performance feedback is the employee's reaction to feedback from their manager. The exchange of information involves both performance expected and performance exhibited. Yeah, the comparison with what they expected was and what was exhibited. Who would dispute the idea that feedback is a good thing? All can benefit from feedback. Both common sense and research make it clear. Feedback and opportunities to use that feedback helps to improve and enhance business unit, company, or organization. And that information can be used to make better information decisions. It also allows us to build and maintain communication with others. So, what are the reasons why feedback is important? Effective feedback, both positive and negative, is very helpful. Feedback is valuable information that will be used to make important decisions. Top performing companies are top performing companies because they consistently search for ways to make their best even better. For top performing companies, continuous improvement is not just a showy catastrophe. It's a true focus based on feedback from clients, employees, suppliers, vendors, and stakeholders. Top performing companies are not only good at accepting feedback, they deliberately ask for feedback. And they know that feedback is helpful only when it highlights weaknesses as well as strengths. Effective feedback has benefits for the giver, the receiver, and the wider organization. Here are the reasons that show us that feedback is really valuable and vital part of every communication process, or kind of giving receiving process, give and take, give and take process. Feedback is always there. If you ask someone in your organization when feedback occurs, they will typically mention an employee survey, performance appraisal, or training evaluation. In reality, feedback is around us all the time. Every time we speak to a person, employee, customer, or vendor, we communicate feedback. In reality, it's impossible not to give feedback. All the time, you give feedback on something, or you receive feedback on something. So just be aware that feedback is around you all the time. Okay, analyze it and reply it. I think the main thing here is to focus on the results and get on from there. Right? Yeah. Feedback is effective listening. Whether the feedback is done verbally or via a feedback survey, the person providing the feedback needs to know they have been understood, or they need to know that their feedback provides some value. When conducting a survey, always explain why respondents' feedback is important and how their feedback will be used. Always just have some image where the feedback will be used. Okay? Feedback can motivate. By asking for feedback, it can actually motivate employees to perform better. Employees like to feel valued and appreciate being asked to provide feedback that can help formulate business decisions. And feedback from clients, suppliers, vendors, and stakeholders can be used to motivate to build better working relations. It's always important to ask for feedback from employees. But it seems to me in Ukraine, it's very rarely used practice to ask for feedback employees, because nobody cares about employees. What do they know? Yeah, they are working for this company, and employers know better. Why not? Yeah, employers know better, and nobody can give them feedback. So it's very important to ask for feedback in employees, or ask employees for feedback, because they kind of, that's how it works, and it's very natural to do that. But usually in Ukraine, employers don't usually do that all the time. Right. Okay. Okay. What I was talking about can improve performance. Right. And feedback is a tool for continued learning. Invest time in asking and learning about how others experience working with your organization. Continued feedback is important across the entire organization in order to remain aligned to goals, create strategies, develop products and services improvements, improve relationships, and much more. Continued learning is the key to improving. So feedback is always just the reason to speak about the improvements directly. Yeah. Okay, good. Moreover, feedback keeps everybody on track. That's beneficial for everyone involved in any type of activities. Working on a project, preparing for an event, studying, um, keeping track of all the businesses that are going right now. Feedback helps your team avoid major mistakes. By creating a clear and honest communication flow during any kind of teamwork, it saves you the time of correcting someone's work, reduces errors caused by miscommunication to a minimum, and prevents regrets of those who feel like they failed. You form better relationships. Feedback promotes honesty and trust. It often involves criticism, which is something most people aren't comfortable with. But when given in the right way, it can help to evolve. Constructive feedback usually motivates people. A friendly approach works well here. You can not only help others see what they might be doing wrong, but allow them to use this as a piece of advice, not judgment. Make them feel like you believe in them and just want to help them reach the project's goals sooner. That will make them even more motivated to do a good job. Feedback promotes personal and professional growth. Feedback is about listening actively, taking the time to analyze, processing, and then thinking of the best possible solution to perform better. First of all, it's listening, processing or digesting, and then acting or performing. It provides positive criticism and allows to see what everyone can change to improve their focus and results. It brings people together and creates a healthy communication flow. Okay. By the way, feedback provides a friendly environment around you. Openness to criticism and an urge to seek feedback are the other positive effects that save you big time. It's not uncommon that the best ideas come from someone on the team who simply mentions a solution to a problem or points out an issue that others haven't noticed yet. Speaking about, I just wanted to a little bit concentrate on the right. So now let's a little bit focus on the criticism and constructive feedback, or just negative and positive feedback. Okay, right. So positive feedback. It's if the signal feedback from output is in phase with the input signal, the feedback is called positive feedback. Yeah. Negative feedback, if the signal, it seems to me I have prepared, nope. Seems to me I have prepared this, nope, I forgot. Oh, okay, let it be. So if the signal feedback from output is in phase with the input signal, the feedback is called positive. Negative feedback, if the signal feedback is of opposite polarity or out of phase by 180 degrees with respect to input signal, the feedback is called negative feedback. It was this stuff was, oh my god, just a second. Okay. Negative criticism is when You say, you were speaking so quietly and unclearly that people asked you to repeat all the time. Were you unprepared or what? If you present it in a more constructive way, your project presentation went successfully. Here is what was especially great. Materials were visualized very well. The information was interesting and up to date. People were interested in your office. Next time, try to speak more clearly and loudly. Anyway, today you did a good job. And it sounds really well. It helps you to maintain this friendly atmosphere in the team, in the group. Right. Okay. You always have to understand and to get the hang of it that creating feedback is very powerful tool in organizing the teamwork, or just organizing the work in the team. For being effective, it can be also offensive. It can lower self-esteem of people or make them feel underappreciated. So be careful with that. Plan your approach in advance. Take into account some simple advice or what to do and what not to do when providing feedback and receiving it. So today, let's have a look. Be concrete and specific. Make sure you are specific and use evidence. Your employees should know exactly what aspect of the project you are talking about, what they did wrong, and how it can be improved. For this reason, it's important to utilize hard evidence, some stiff evidence that you could really present and you could explain with the help of this evidence, such as time tracking and employee progress data that display how much time each worker uses to complete tasks and which activities they engage in on the way. This data may be collected with smart applications tools that are created for the time management or for managing the work of the employees. It can help you monitor team performance in real time and gather data to inform your feedback. So be concrete and specific, yeah? Be succinct also, be brief. So everything could be, don't just talk about fleas, talk about dogs. Don't be too prolonged in your feedback. Be informative and practical also. So your feedback should be informative. Your feedback should involve the information that really matters, that really can help people, and also they should be practical, so they can be applicable in the environment that you are working or you are studying. So they can be applied just from the next shift or next project or next lesson, doesn't matter. So it should be up to date. The information should be up to date. The information should be extremely applicable to the situation you are speaking about or you are indulged in. Make it a feedback, not an opinion. Yeah. Avoid anything that can be heard as blaming or judging. You want to motivate people and show them area for improvement, not the opposite. Always explain your team how open communication about possible improvements is a win-win situation. Mention their strengths first, after which you can point an aspect they can work on more. Make your feedback objective. Make it objective. And it should be unbiased and non-judgmental. So anything should don't speak about their personality, speak about their actions, speak about something that you can prove that you are right, they are wrong, or they should have done it better. Talk about actions, not personality. Yeah, right. Also, don't forget to let them part of the problem solving process. Even if you already have a specific solution in mind, hear them out, then share your proposal using some of their words of ideas. Yeah, because maybe the person sees it differently, and sees it differently, and he can suggest really good advice or a good way out out of this situation. So kind of always take into account their own opinions, take into account their own views of the situations. Last but not least, encourage team members to provide that I will speak about it a little bit later. Talk in the past. Always talk in the past, because past is the evidence, what they've done, that will help you to provide a very high quality feedback, because you stick to the actions that they've done, and not to something that they will do, but to the action that they and you don't talk in present, don't talk generally, because that's something they have done in the past, but not that they do all the time. So be aware of that. Talk immediately. Always, if you want to have an immediate improvement, talk immediately. I'm just looking for one proverb. Make haste while the sun shines, right? Make haste while the sun shines. Куй железо, пока горячо. Yeah, make haste while sun shines. Right. Give people time also to understand your feedback and make sure to receive their responses. They should be comfortable with sharing how they feel about it. Be open-minded and take into account your team members' points of view. Yeah, when you talk immediately, but give them time to process, give them time to ask questions, to suggest something. Also, make it positive. Yeah, it's uncommon that people aren't actually sure what happened or what their next step should be. That's why you should ask questions in the end and see if the other person received your message. Follow up after a few days to see how they are doing and whether there is still an issue. Yeah, have some follow-on questions, have some follow-up session after the feedback session. Just a second here. Last but not least, encourage team members to provide feedback as well. Leave your ego behind. Ask them if they have something to add about your performance, and as a role of manager or team organizer or maybe team lead. And carefully listen to what they have to say. Let them give examples too, so you can see what exactly they mean. Then discuss this openly and together to find a way to make it work and use the feedback effectively. So it's always a good practice to see how your work improves, how your work does. So it's always important to listen to the feedback from your peers. Kind of. Here, feedback sandwich, not sandwich, but sandwich, sandwich. The sandwich or the compliment sandwich is a technique for giving interpersonal feedback. This method suggests that when providing someone with an evaluation, you should start by making positive statements. Then discuss areas for improvement, and you should finish with more positive statements or compliments about one's work. So first part is this: Brad, it's positive. Here is something valuable in the middle. And last, also Brad, with positive statements. Kind of. Start off with positive feedback or authentic praise of something your colleague did recently. Find good and honest words to compliment a person's work. Provide constructive criticism. To make criticism work for you, you should always explain what is it exactly that you are concerned about and why you think the suggested solution is not the best one. For example, you can click on the button, but nothing happens. It seems like the form isn't sent. From the text, it's not clear what the diagram refers to. The user might think it's a diagram of payment and not a diagram of income. Due to the use of different units, it's not clear how the indexes can be compared. It's not clear, yeah. You should always criticize work and never a person. Don't try to hint that the responsible employee is incompetent. Accepting criticism is hard, as any criticism claims you didn't do a good job on your assignment. It's important not to worsen the situation by giving an arrogant comment. If you criticize, always explain your position, make a suggestion. If you know how to improve the work you are not happy about, suggest how to make it better. But first ask how you could make it better. Regardless if your suggestion is right or wrong, if it will or won't be implemented, if you know or don't know all the details, just say it. If you know how to improve something, suggest your opinion. And on a positive note, even if you are not happy with the result of someone's work, after you expressed your criticism, find some good words to compliment your colleague's effort and work. It can be a general or a specific comment, but it's important to end any meeting on a good note. Okay, it's just right. So use it wisely, this sandwich technique. When you use this technique, you shouldn't praise someone's work more than you criticize it. And you should not give empty praise. The feedback sandwich should only be used as a framework for providing healthy, constructive feedback to maintain an open and friendly team atmosphere. I find this technique to be very effective and encouraging. I think that praise motivates people better than the plain criticism. Now I'm using this approach with my colleagues and with my students as well. And I believe that this technique works with everyone, regardless of nationality or cultural differences or status or ethnic backgrounds. So probably with everybody, it works really great. So you can also exploit it. Right. And when speaking, right, I wanted to, oh, here. So can you please type in the chat box how you could provide feedback to yourself? Negative criticism, positive praise and advice. Okay, yeah, right. So can you please provide the tips how you can give feedback to yourself? How you can provide criticism feedback to yourself? So for me, it's it's kind of very important stuff, because for me I always do feedback for myself. I have questions that I usually, sometimes I watch my lessons, I rewatch my lessons, and after that I ask myself what was done well, what should be done better, and what things I have to concentrate more on. And always I just write, I watch and I write what I like, what I don't like, what I have to pay attention to. Maybe I repeat some words a lot. Maybe I have to improve something. That's why I use this technique to find to improve myself, to do this work better. I have a piece of paper while watching my lesson, for example, and I write here some stuff. And then I draw plus, minus, and I always try to balance. Yeah, so if you write a plus, there should be a minus. If you write a plus, there should be a minus. So you can't kind of write a lot of minuses and too few pluses. It's not a good feedback. It won't it won't motivate you, and it won't encourage you, because you can't see clearly how much progress you have done. So don't exaggerate really, and don't underappreciate yourself. So you are good. Sometimes you need to be constructive, but don't be too criticizing. There should be always should be always a good a space for some good stuff, place for some good criticism, like that. So don't underappreciate yourself. And let's have a look at the end at the quote by Elon Musk. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop where you are constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. Yeah, so it's a nice algorithm and theory, not theory, but algorithm proviso of giving feedback by Elon Musk. And time for quiz. So the first person in the chat should sorry, just a second. Oh, here. So you should write in the chat box. Okay, somebody wrote, you mean the feedback for this lesson or in general? No. 3 good things. I answered some questions concisely. I listened to the teacher. I done some incredible use of and okay. Yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm. Too many minutes minuses at the time, take baby steps to improve. All right, yeah, of course. Don't underappreciate yourself. That's you will always do it. Okay, so the first person to write in the chat, this is a feedback technique that involves or incorporates building your feedback as a kind of food. Yeah, it's a technique that incorporates building or constructing your feedback according to the type of food. According to the type of food. Yeah, right, Andri, you received the prize from me today for being so active. I'm going to write a sandwich, right? But right, sandwich. But we write it like sandwich, but we read it like sandwich. So always remember about that, right? I will write your name here. Thanks a lot. Right. Thanks a lot for today, everybody. See you next week. Have a nice weekend. It was very nice to speak with you.